their efforts to improve democracy and our country.
Oh, the hair though.
Looks great hair. Today we're here with Nicole Thomas-Kennedy, who's running for Seattle City Attorney. Nicole, thank you so much for being on here with us.
Thank you
And
for having me. Sorry, I'm a little bit of a mess. I'm gonna
uh,
fix it. I'm gonna fix it. There we go.
thanks. Nicole, thanks so much for being on with us and for running for this very important seat. Not a lot of people understand, what this seat actually does, and you kind of want to run us through what Seattle City Attorney does and why you're running for the seat.
Sure. So the Seattle City Attorney is the attorney for the city. So which is kind of obvious, but they are tasked with defending the city in all litigation. The city attorney's office helps with all the contracting for the city. They advise certain departments on policy, as well as advising the council and mayor on crafting legally defensible policies and ordinances, and defending all of those policies and ordinances as well. The other side of the office is the criminal division. It's about a third of the side of the civil division, but the criminal division is tasked with prosecuting misdemeanors. And so misdemeanors are by definition, the lowest level of crime. They're not punishable by more than a year in jail. And they're generally speaking, not all of them, but a lot of them are petty crimes, people stealing a sandwich or sleeping under an awning or things like that. And the prosecutor has discretion about which cases they want to prosecute. And it's supposed to be based on the strength of the case, but also if it's in the interest of justice. And so I jumped into the race because I'm a former public defender and I worked at Seattle Municipal Court, and I saw the prosecutions for things like stealing shoes from Goodwill or, eating grapes in a 7-Eleven in a mental health crisis. And I thought that it seemed like a cruel waste of money. And so I am running to change that, especially I think the civil division is doing a great job, but the criminal side of the office needs to change. We need to trim it back. And that's why I decided to run.
Thank you for that. It does seem like the criminalization of petty crimes is kind of a cultural phenomenon that we're at nexus points in our country. At the moment, it is drawing to our attention in Collective Social Network. There are a lot of races for city attorney, for city prosecutors, municipal prosecutors from the right-wing movement that adheres to Trump's election being stolen from him, which is, and it seems like this is a seat that weighs into these matters. Can you speak a little bit? This is also a seat that seems to have to work closely with law enforcement, and with all manner of civil, city council people. And yet you are running on a humane, much more progressive leaning policy platform, which is a greatly needed. How would those policies being implemented look like, other than just not criminalizing petty crimes? How would it deal with the actual phenomenon of homelessness that does create a situation for Seattle consistently?
Absolutely. I mean, so the city attorney on the criminal side, the city attorney can make all manner of decisions about what's in the interest of public safety. And so, and not just prosecuting petty crime is one, I think, thing that we can do towards public safety. In Boston and Baltimore, they stopped prosecuting a lot of these types of crimes and saw crime go down overall, because the less contact people have with the system, the less they come back. But I think more than that, it's really about building community and building up communities so they can take care of some of these things and prevent them from happening. So the things that I would be funding with the office would be violence interruption programs, survivor services, because survivors of violent crimes constantly tell us what they need to stay safe. It's usually access to therapy for healing, housing, transportation, childcare, and those things are not valued at all in our current system. What is valued is spending $10,000 to punish a perpetrator. Lordy, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
And sorry about that. And so really taking the money that we're using to make the problem worse and putting it into expanding diversionary programs, expanding community support services, expanding community programs, and then also working into a space where we can start having some of these cases taken care of with a restorative or a transformative justice approach, which is something that's already being used in lots of parts of the country and is being used right here in Seattle. That's a lot of things from the King County Juvenile Court are referred to restorative justice processes. And it ends up reducing recidivism, and it's a whole lot cheaper. But really, like when we're talking about crime, we need to be addressing the roots of it. And the roots of a lot of the things that are criminalized are poverty, addiction, and mental health services. And so using the money from the office to fund access to those services, I think is really, really important because, these problems that we're having right now, I mean, first, the whole West Coast looks like this. There's tents everywhere, all up and down the West Coast. And there's just no way we're going to jail our way out of the problem. Even if we filled every jail bed in the King County Jail with people who are unsheltered, we still need about 5 times as many beds. And those beds cost $200 a night. So I think we really need to get serious about attacking those root problems.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for breaking that down very, very succinctly. You're running on an overtly decriminalizing poverty platform. You are endorsed by former governors, by the Seattle DSA, by local labor groups. You led in a 3-way race at the top of the ticket at 36%. Yet that's a lot of registered voters that we need to win over. What can people that are watching at home, how can they get involved in your race, and how can they support your efforts in November?
Sure. So they can go to my website, ntkforjustice.com. There's spaces to volunteer there if you would like to come out and canvass with us. I was resistant to canvassing at first because it's scary. But now that I do it a lot, it's actually one of my favorite things to do because I like meeting people and talking to people one-on-one and hearing what their questions are. So we do that every weekend, and it's going to be ramping up the opportunities to do that. We also do phone banking and text banking as well. So if you're not that outgoing, you don't have to be. Or you can donate to my campaign at the same place, ntkforjustice.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the Collective Social Network Live again with us. Nicole Thomas-Kennedy for Seattle Attorney. We're wishing you luck. Thank you again for being with us.